She notes the shoes first. It is an automatic, ingrained impulse, a vestige of a world she no longer entirely belongs to, but whose rules she still carries like a creed. The shoes are brown leather, scuffed at the toe and worn at the heel. They are clean, but they are undeniably old. They speak of long walks on hard pavement, of time, of a life lived outside the carpeted halls of power. They do not belong here, not in this ballroom under the fractured, brilliant light of a dozen crystal chandeliers, not on the polished obsidian floor that reflects the ceiling like a silent, dark lake. Gavin Thorne leans close, his voice a low murmur against the polite symphony of clinking glasses and muted conversation. The scent of his expensive cologne, a sharp citrus and cedar, is an assault. "That's him," Gavin says. "Elias Vance." Clara Sterling's gaze lifts from the worn shoes to the man wearing them. He stands alone near a service entrance, holding a small plate with a single untouched pastry on it. His suit is as unremarkable as his shoes. It is a simple, dark grey, well pressed but dated in its cut. It hangs on a frame that is lean and still. He is not looking at the stage, not watching the mingling senators and industry titans. He is watching a bank of monitors high on the wall, where a looped video showcases the company's new marvel, the Sterling S-47, a long-range corporate jet. Its flight is silent and perfect on the screen. "The one I told you about," Gavin continues, his tone laced with a theatrical sort of pity. "From the old days, the one who claimed your father stole his work." Clara's jaw tightens. The grief for her father is still a raw, physical thing, a hollow space just beneath her ribs. It is 6 months since his heart failed, 6 months since she inherited the weight of his name, his company, his legacy, a legacy Gavin Thorne, her father's long-time chief operating officer, now helps her protect. "He has a nerve showing up here," she says. Her voice is low and cold, a perfect imitation of the tone her father used to quell boardroom dissent. "Some people have no shame," Gavin agrees smoothly. "He tried to sue the estate, you know, a frivolous claim. We had it dismissed, of course. He works as a mechanic now, I hear, at some forgotten airfield up the coast." Clara watches the man, Elias Vance. He does not look like a man with no shame. He looks quiet. There is a stillness about him that is at odds with the restless energy of the room. He finally turns his head, his gaze sweeping over the crowd, and for a brief, disorienting second, his eyes meet hers. They are a startlingly clear shade of grey, the colour of a winter sky. There is no malice in them, no anger. There is only a deep, unnerving calm. And something else. Something that looks like patience. The look lasts for only a count of 3. Then he gives a small, almost imperceptible nod, not to her specifically, but to the space she occupies, and turns his attention back to his small plate. It is the nod that decides it. It is not deferential. It is not a challenge. It is an acknowledgement, as if he is seeing something she cannot. It feels, impossibly, like he is the one in a position of power. "Excuse me," she says to Gavin, her decision hardening into a sharp point. She walks across the obsidian floor. The sound of her heels is a series of sharp, authoritative clicks. People part for her. She is Clara Sterling, the new queen, and this is her court. She stops in front of him. He is taller than she expected. He looks up from his pastry, his grey eyes meeting hers again. He does not seem surprised. He simply waits. "Mr. Vance," she begins, the name feeling foreign and unpleasant on her tongue. "Miss Sterling," he replies. His voice is quiet, a low baritone. It holds no particular emotion. "I'm surprised to see you here," she says. The words are clipped, each one a small, sharp stone. He does not answer immediately. He considers the pastry on his plate, then sets it down on the tray of a passing waiter. He does not look at her while he does this. He gives the simple action his full attention. Then he looks back at her. "My wife worked on the guidance system for the S-47, he says. "The original prototype. I came to see it honored." His wife. Clara remembers a file, a lab accident, years ago, a settlement, a non-disclosure agreement. Gavin had explained it all as a tragic but necessary piece of corporate history. The mention of his wife does not soften her. It feels like a gambit, a play for sympathy. "Your history with this company is concluded, Mr. Vance," she says, her voice dropping even lower. She can feel the eyes of the room on them, can feel the conversation dimming as people watch the exchange. She wants this to be a lesson. "Your presence here is inappropriate." Beside her, she is aware of Gavin, hovering like a shadow, a satisfied smirk playing on his lips. Elias Vance does not flinch. He does not argue. He does not defend himself. He simply looks at her. His gaze is steady, unwavering. It is not an accusatory look. It is observational. He seems to be seeing right through the layers of her anger, her grief, her borrowed authority. He is seeing the uncertain woman beneath the armor of the CEO. For a long, silent moment, he just holds her gaze. The noise of the room seems to fade into a distant hum. It is just the two of them, standing in a pocket of profound silence. Then he gives that same small nod as before. "I see," he says, and that is all. He turns without another word and walks toward the main entrance. He does not hurry. His steps are measured, deliberate. He walks past the senators and the CEOs, his worn shoes making no sound on the thick carpets near the door. He does not look back. Clara stands frozen, watching him go. She has won. She has publicly asserted her authority, defended her father's name, and dismissed the ghost at the feast. Gavin murmurs his approval in her ear. But she does not feel victorious. She feels a strange, creeping coldness. She feels the weight of the man's silence. It is heavier than any argument he could have made. She replays the look in his eyes, the quiet, unassailable integrity, the patience. The keynote speaker, Senator Michelson, is taking the stage. The lights dim. A spotlight finds the podium. Clara cannot shake the feeling that she has made a terrible mistake. The feeling lingers for days. It is a low-frequency hum beneath the surface of her thoughts. It is there when she signs 9-figure contracts, the ink of her pen a stark black against the crisp white paper. It is there when she chairs board meetings, her voice steady and commanding, while her mind replays the quiet click of the grand ballroom doors closing behind Elias Vance. She does not understand it. She acted decisively. She protected the company. She did what her father would have done. Gavin assures her of this repeatedly. "You were brilliant," he tells her over coffee, his smile practiced and reassuring. "You showed them there's no weakness here. That Sterling is as strong as ever." She nods and sips her coffee, the bitter taste doing nothing to ground her. She does not feel brilliant. She feels unsettled. The memory of the man's worn shoes is more vivid than the details of the billion-dollar merger she is supposed to be reviewing. It is the lack of a fight that bothers her most. He did not protest. He did not raise his voice. He simply absorbed her accusation and left. A guilty man would have argued. A desperate man would have pleaded. Elias Vance did neither. He acted like a man who was so certain of his own truth that her opinion of it was irrelevant. A week after the gala, she is driving up the coast. It is a necessary escape. The city, the office, the suffocating weight of her father's legacy. It is all too much. She needs the salt air, the grey expanse of the ocean, the feeling of moving forward. Her car is her father's last gift to her, a custom-built sedan with an experimental engine Sterling's R&D department had been developing. It is sleek, black, and silent, a ghost on the highway. The rain starts an hour out of the city. It is a thin, persistent drizzle that soon thickens into a downpour. The sky turns the color of iron. Water streams across the windshield, and the rhythmic slap of the wipers becomes the only sound. Then another sound joins it, a sputtering cough from the engine. The car lurches. The check engine light flashes a panicked, angry red. The silent ghost on the highway gives a final, metallic sigh and coasts to a dead stop on the shoulder of the empty coastal road. Clara rests her forehead against the cold leather of the steering wheel. She does not swear. She does not panic. She just closes her eyes and breathes. The silence in the car is absolute, broken only by the drumming of rain on the roof. Her phone has one bar of service. The roadside assistance dispatcher is sympathetic but unhelpful. The nearest authorized dealer is 2 hours away. The local tow services are not equipped to handle her vehicle's specific proprietary systems. There is one place, the dispatcher says after a long pause. An independent garage, specializes in experimental engines, Vance Automotive. It's at a small airfield about 5 miles from your location. The owner, he's supposed to be a genius. The name hits her like a physical blow. Vance? It cannot be. I'll send him your location, the dispatcher says before Clara can protest. 30 minutes later, a functional but aging flatbed truck pulls up behind her. The blue and white logo on the door is simple. Vance Automotive. A man gets out. He pulls the hood of his rain slicker over his head. It is him. Elias Vance moves through the rain with an unhurried competence. He does not seem surprised to see her. He does not acknowledge their last meeting at all. He simply walks to her driver's side window and taps lightly on the glass. She powers it down. The smell of rain and wet earth fills the car. "Engine trouble?" he asks. His voice is the same low baritone, calm and steady. "It just stopped," she says, feeling a ridiculous flush of embarrassment. He nods. "Pop the hood." She does. He works for several minutes in the pouring rain, the beam of a powerful flashlight cutting through the gloom. His hands move with a surgeon's precision. He does not use brute force. He uses knowledge. He touches a sensor here, checks a connection there. The clicks and snaps of his tools are the only sounds. He comes back to her window, rain dripping from his chin. "It's the primary fuel injector controller. It's a known flaw in this prototype series. The moisture shorts it out." He says it as a simple fact, not an accusation. But the implication is clear. Her father's company, her company, put a flawed engine in her car. "Can you fix it?" she asks, her voice small. "I can bypass it to get you to my shop. I have a replacement part there." He pauses. "You'll have to ride with me. The bypass won't hold for long." She looks at the passenger seat of his truck. There is a child's car seat there and a small, worn teddy bear tucked into it. Her world, a world of bespoke suits and sterile boardrooms, suddenly feels very far away. "Okay," she says. The ride to the airfield is silent. The cab of the truck smells of coffee, motor oil, and faintly of cinnamon. It is warm and dry. In the back, her sleek black sedan looks like a beached whale on the flatbed. A small face peeks around the edge of the passenger seat. A little girl, no older than 6, with the same clear grey eyes as her father. She holds the teddy bear tight. "Hello," the girl whispers. "Hello," Clara whispers back. "My name is Maya," the girl says. "Are you sad?" The question is so direct, so innocent, that it takes Clara's breath away. "Why do you ask that?" "Because your car is broken," Maya says, as if it is the most obvious thing in the world. "And you look like Mommy did when she was sad." Elias glances at his daughter in the rearview mirror, his expression unreadable. He says nothing. "Daddy can fix it," Maya continues, her voice full of unwavering faith. "He can fix anything, even sad things." Clara looks away, out at the rain-swept landscape. The child's words, simple and profound, pierce through her armor. Even sad things. She thinks of the hollowness in her chest, the grief she papers over with work and authority. The garage is a single, large hangar at the edge of a deserted runway. It is meticulously organized. Tools hang in perfect order on the walls. Engine components are labeled and stored on clean metal shelves. In the center of the space, covered by a vast canvas tarp, is the shape of a small aircraft. Elias backs her car into the hangar. He gives Maya a small box of crayons and a stack of paper, and the girl settles at a small, clean wooden desk in the corner, humming to herself as she draws. He works on the engine. Clara stands and watches, a borrowed wool blanket he gave her draped over her shoulders. It smells like his truck, like coffee and oil. He does not just replace the part, he improves it. He reroutes a wire, fabricates a small waterproof housing from a scrap of high-grade polymer. His movements are fluid, economical, and deeply intelligent. He is not just a mechanic, he is an artist. The engine is his medium. She finds herself studying him, the focused set of his jaw, the way his brow furrows in concentration, the quiet competence that radiates from him like warmth from a stove. This is not the man Gavin described. This is not a bitter failure clinging to the past. This is a man at peace in his own world, a master of his craft. After an hour, he straightens up and wipes his hands on a clean rag. "It's done," he says. "It won't happen again." He starts the engine. It purrs to life, a low, perfect hum. No sputtering, no hesitation. She reaches for her purse. "How much do I owe you?" He looks at her, and for the first time, she sees a flicker of something in his eyes. It is not anger. It is disappointment. "You don't owe me anything, Miss Sterling," he says. He turns and walks over to the desk where his daughter is drawing. He leans down and looks at her picture. Clara stands by her perfectly running car, the blankets still around her shoulders. The warmth feels unearned. She feels the sting of his refusal more keenly than any insult. She is the one in his debt, and they both know it. She drives away from the airfield as the rain finally stops. The engine is perfect. The sun breaks through the iron-grey clouds, casting long, golden rays across the wet landscape. Clara does not head back to the city. She pulls into a small seaside motel a few miles down the coast. She checks in, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. The child's words echo in her head. He can fix anything, even sad things. The phrase he used about her car's engine also sticks with her, a known flaw in this prototype series. He spoke with the authority of someone who knew the design intimately, more intimately than her own R&D chief. In the sterile quiet of the motel room, she opens her laptop. The company servers are a fortress, but she is the queen. She has the master key. She bypasses Gavin's administrative locks and starts to dig. She searches for Elias Vance. His employee file is thin, scrubbed clean. It lists his termination date, citing creative differences. It mentions the lab accident that killed his wife, Clara Vance, a brilliant avionics engineer. It details the settlement, sealed by the non-disclosure agreement Gavin had mentioned. It all seems clean, procedural, and cold. But something feels wrong. The file is too clean. All of Vance's project contributions are listed as junior support. It does not align with the man she saw in the garage, the man who diagnosed and fixed a prototype engine with his bare hands. She searches for the S-47 jet, the one honored at the gala. The design patents are credited to a team, but the lead designer is listed as Clara Sterling, her father, and Gavin Thorne. Then she remembers what Ben Carter had said at her father's funeral. Ben, her father's oldest friend, the retired chief of engineering, a man whose loyalty was to the work, not to titles. He had taken her hand, his own calloused and warm, and looked her in the eye. "Your father was a great man, Clara, but he was at his greatest when he listened to the quietest man in the room." The memory is a key turning in a lock. The next morning she drives to Ben Carter's house. He lives in a small cottage overlooking the sea, surrounded by a garden of stubborn, wind-beaten roses. He is surprised to see her. He welcomes her in, his movements slow and deliberate with age. The house smells of old books and brewing tea. They sit in his sunroom, looking out at the grey, churning water. "I need to ask you about Elias Vance," she says, dispensing with pleasantries. Ben's expression becomes guarded. He takes a long, slow sip of his tea. "That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. You said my father was at his best when he listened to the quietest man in the room," she presses. "Were you talking about him?" Ben sets his cup down. The delicate china makes a soft click against the saucer. "Arthur had a brilliant mind for business, for seeing the whole chessboard. But Elias Vance could see the soul of a machine. He didn't just design things, he understood them." "The company records say he was a junior engineer," Clara states. Ben gives a short, bitter laugh. "Records can be made to say whatever the person writing them wants. Elias wasn't junior anything. He was your father's partner, his secret weapon. They'd locked themselves in the design lab for weeks. What came out was magic." "Then what happened?" she asks, leaning forward. "What always happens. Money and ego. Gavin Thorne happened." Ben's eyes darken. "Gavin was ambitious. He saw Elias as a threat. And Elias, he didn't play the game. He only cared about the work. After the accident, after he lost Sarah." Ben trails off, his gaze distant. Losing her broke something in him. He was vulnerable. Gavin saw his chance. He convinced your father that Elias was unstable, a liability. He twisted the narrative, buried Elias's contributions, and took credit for the work himself. My father let him. The question is a raw whisper. "Your father was grieving too," Ben says softly. "Sarah was like a daughter to him, and he was under immense pressure from the board. He made a mistake, a terrible, terrible mistake. I think he spent the rest of his life trying to figure out how to fix it." Clara feels a profound, sickening sense of clarity. The public slight at the gala, Gavin's smug satisfaction, Elias's quiet, unnerving calm. It all clicks into place. "Where would my father keep something he didn't want Gavin to find?" she asks. Ben thinks for a long moment. "The archives, not the digital ones, the physical ones. Your father was old school. He believed in paper and ink. He had a private vault in the main archive. He called it the Nightingale's Cage." Nightingale. She remembers Maya's drawing, a small bird. That afternoon she returns to the airfield. She does not call first. She finds Elias not in the garage but on a grassy hill overlooking the runway. He is sitting on a blanket, and Maya is beside him, her head resting on his lap. They are flying a kite, a simple red diamond that dances and swoops in the ocean breeze. Clara stops at a distance, hidden by a cluster of windswept pines. She watches them. He points to a cloud formation, his voice a low murmur she cannot hear. Maya laughs, a bright, clear sound that carries on the wind. He adjusts the string in his hand, his touch delicate, guiding the kite in a perfect, soaring arc. She sees him not as a disgraced engineer or a local mechanic. She sees him as a father. She sees the gentle patience, the quiet strength, the profound love for the small child in his care. He has built a world for her here, a world of peace and quiet dignity, away from the noise and the lies. She sees the truth of him, and she understands that she has not just misjudged a man. She has desecrated something sacred. She does not approach them. She gets back in her car, the perfectly running engine a quiet testament to the man on the hill. She drives back to the city, a cold, hard resolve settling in her heart. She is going to find the Nightingale's cage. The Sterling Aeronautics Corporate Archive is a climate-controlled cavern in the sub-basement of the main tower. It is a library of the company's history, filled with rows upon rows of metal shelves holding blueprints, binders, and boxes. It smells of old paper and sterilized air. Clara dismisses the archivist for the day. She needs to be alone. She finds the vault in a forgotten corner, exactly where Ben said it would be. It is not a cage. It is a heavy, fire-proofed door with a simple, unmarked keypad. The code is her mother's birthday, a date Gavin Thorne would never know. The door swings open with a heavy sigh of released pressure. The room inside is small, more of a walk-in safe than a room. It contains a single metal filing cabinet and a wooden chest. She opens the filing cabinet first. It is filled with folders, each meticulously labeled in her father's familiar, sharp handwriting. She finds the one marked Project Nightingale. It is not a project file. It is a collection of every design, every memo, every note Elias Vance ever created for Sterling Aeronautics. It is a secret history of the company's greatest achievements. At the front of each section are the master blueprints for the S-47 jet. 2 signatures are at the bottom of the title block: Arthur Sterling and Elias Vance. Gavin Thorne's name is nowhere to be seen. Her hands tremble as she lifts the pages. The designs are elegant, brilliant, and revolutionary. They are works of genius. Then she opens the wooden chest. Inside, nestled on a bed of dark blue velvet, is a single sealed manila envelope. Her name is written on the front: Clara. She sinks to the floor, her back against the cold metal of the cabinet, and tears it open. The letter is several pages long, written on her father's personal stationery. My dearest Clara, it begins. If you are reading this, it means I am gone, and you have found your way past the dragons. I hope you have found it, because your own good heart led you here. He writes of Elias, of his brilliance, his integrity, his friendship. He confesses his own weakness, his terrible error in judgment in the aftermath of Sarah's death. Gavin poisoned me with fear, he writes. He convinced me that Vance was a risk, that his grief made him reckless. He proposed a plan to safeguard the S-47 project, our life's work, by marginalizing Elias and taking control. I was a coward. I was grieving, and I chose the easy path. I let him push Elias out. I let him steal the man's legacy. The letter details the full extent of Gavin's treachery. He had not just stolen credit. He had subtly sabotaged elements of Elias's original design, introducing flaws he could later fix to make himself look like a hero, solidifying his position. The faulty fuel injector controller in her car was one of them, a deliberate, calculated flaw. Elias signed the NDA and took the settlement for one reason only, the letter continues: to provide for Maya. He knew a legal battle would be long and ugly, and he wanted to protect his daughter from all of it. He made me one promise, that he would never speak of it, so long as the work itself, the S-47, was built true to his core design. He cared more for the integrity of the machine than for his own name. I have tried to honor that, but Gavin is always there, chipping away, altering things for his own gain. The final paragraph is a plea. I have not known how to undo the damage I have caused. My pride, my fear, they have been a prison. But you, Clara, you are stronger than I was. You have a purer sense of justice. Elias Vance is the best of us. He is the heart of this company, even in his exile. Do what is right. Restore the man. Restore the work. That is my true legacy. Tears stream down Clara's face, silent and hot. They are tears of grief for her father, but also tears of a profound, shattering shame. She has been a fool, a puppet. She looked at a king and saw only a peasant because he was not wearing a crown. She closes her eyes, the worn leather of his shoes flashing in her mind, his quiet, steady gaze, the incredible patience. He knew. He knew who she was, who her father was, who Gavin was. And he said nothing. Late that night, she drives back to the coast. The hangar is dark, but a single light burns in the small house attached to it. She knocks on the door. It feels like the heaviest object she has ever lifted. Elias opens it. He is in a simple t-shirt and jeans. He is holding a half-repaired toaster. He shows no surprise, only a quiet, weary resignation. "Miss Sterling," he says, his voice flat. "May I come in?" she asks. Her own voice sounds fragile. He hesitates for a count of 2, then steps aside. The house is small, simple and immaculate. It smells of cinnamon and wood smoke. Books are stacked neatly on shelves. A half-finished puzzle sits on the coffee table. It is a home, not just a house. It is a sanctuary. "I know," she says, standing in the middle of the small living room. The words come out in a rush. "I know everything. The designs, the letter, what Gavin did, what my father did, what I did." She holds out the letter. "He left this for me." Elias looks at the envelope in her hand, but he does not take it. He sets the toaster down on a workbench with painstaking care. "Why?" she asks, her voice breaking. "Why didn't you say anything? At the gala you just let me say those things to you." He finally looks at her. His grey eyes are not angry. They are filled with a deep, ancient sadness. "What would have been the point?" he asks, his voice quiet. "You wouldn't have believed me. You looked at me and saw what you were told to see. A disgruntled employee. A failure." He pauses, his gaze unwavering. "You had to see it for yourself." The simple truth of his words is devastating. He is right. She would have dismissed him, just as she had before. Her apology feels like a hollow, useless thing, but she offers it anyway. "I am so sorry, Elias." He does not reply. He does not absolve her. He simply stands there, a pillar of quiet integrity in the wreckage of her certainty. A small sound comes from the hallway. Maya stands there in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes, her teddy bear clutched in one hand. She looks at Clara, her expression uncertain. Clara kneels down, so her eyes are level with the child's. She does not know what to say. Maya takes a hesitant step forward, then another. She stops in front of Clara. She looks at her face, at the tear tracks on her cheeks. Then the little girl reaches out a small hand and pats Clara's arm, a gesture of simple, uncomplicated comfort. "Are you sad?" Maya whispers. Clara nods, unable to speak. "It's okay," Maya says. "Daddy can fix it." She looks up at her father, then back at Clara. She holds out her other hand. In her small palm is a crayon drawing. It is a picture of a bird with a wide wingspan, soaring through a blue sky. a nightingale. Clara takes the drawing, her fingers brushing the child's. The paper is warm. It is acceptance. It is grace. And in that moment, it is everything. The alliance begins not with a handshake, but with a schematic. The company's flagship project, the S50, is failing, Clara says, her voice steady. They are in his workshop, the smell of oil and metal a neutral ground. Maya is asleep in the house. The night is quiet around them. The wing assembly is showing stress fractures during simulation. We're 6 months behind schedule and billions over budget. It's Gavin's design. It's a corruption of your father's last concept, Elias corrects her gently. He's already pulling a dusty binder from a high shelf. I know the one. We argued about it. The variable geometry is too aggressive. It creates a harmonic resonance at Mach 0.9. He opens the binder on a large, clear workbench. The pages are filled with his own precise handwriting and elegant, complex equations. He is not looking at her. He is looking at the problem. He is already solving it. Gavin wouldn't have understood the resonance calculations. He murmurs, more to himself than to her. He only saw the speed. For the next 2 weeks, they work. Clara drives up the coast every evening after a full day of feigning normality at the office, of smiling at Gavin and pretending to believe his excuses about the S50's delays. The workshop becomes their world. She brings him data from the company's servers, encrypted on a private drive. He translates the cold numbers into the physical reality of stress and torsion and airflow. He does not use a computer. He uses paper, a pencil, and a slide rule. He builds a new model of the wing joint, not on a screen, but with his hands, using lightweight composites and machine steel. She watches him, learns from him. She sees the way he honors the materials, the way he respects the laws of physics, as if they are sacred texts. He is teaching her a new language, the language of truth in engineering. They talk very little about the past. Their conversation is about the work, about tolerances and load-bearing capacities and material fatigue. But in the quiet spaces between, a new understanding grows. She learns to anticipate the tool he will need. He learns how she takes her coffee. Black, no sugar. One night, Maya wakes up and comes into the workshop, her blanket trailing behind her. She does not go to her father. She goes to Clara, who is poring over a stress analysis report. Maya leans against her, her small head resting on Clara's arm, and falls back asleep. Elias watches them for a long moment from across the room. He says nothing, but his expression softens. The wall around him, the one built of grief and betrayal, develops a small, almost imperceptible crack. Finally, the new design is finished. It is elegant, strong, and true. It is a work of art. "It's ready," Elias says, wiping his hands on a rag. "So are we," Clara replies. The emergency board meeting is scheduled for the next morning. Clara summons them with a single cryptic message regarding the future of Sterling Aeronautics. Gavin Thorne enters the boardroom with a confident swagger. He believes this meeting is about firing the current head of the S50 project, a scapegoat he has carefully selected. He smiles at Clara, a predator's smile. "Clara, good. Let's get this over with," he says, taking his seat at the head of the long mahogany table next to hers. The other board members, old men in dark suits who knew her father, look on with wary curiosity. Clara remains standing. She does not look at Gavin. She looks at the faces around the table. "Thank you for coming on such short notice," she begins, her voice calm and clear. "For the past 6 months, I have been operating under a series of profound misapprehensions about this company, about its past, and about its future. Today, that ends. She places a file folder in front of each board member. Inside are copies of the S50's failing stress reports, the ballooning budget, and Gavin's falsified progress projections. The S50 project is a failure, she states. It is failing because its core design is fundamentally flawed and dishonest. Gavin laughs. Clara, this is hardly the forum for technical debates. The design is sound. We've simply had some fabrication issues. The design is not sound, Clara says, her voice cutting through his condescension. It is a diluted, corrupted version of a superior original, a copy made by someone who did not understand the source material. She places a second file in front of them. It contains her father's letter. As they read, the atmosphere in the room changes. The air grows thick and cold. The wary curiosity on the faces of the board members turns to shock, then to a slow burning anger. Gavin's face drains of color. This is absurd. The ramblings of a sick man. Arthur was not himself at the end. He was himself enough to know the truth, Clara says. She walks to the large screen at the end of the room and brings up an image. It is the title block of the original S47 blueprint, the one from the vault. The two signatures, Arthur Sterling and Elias Vance, are clear and undeniable. And he was himself enough to preserve it, she says. Gavin stands up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. This is slander, a pathetic attempt by a failed engineer to rewrite history. Vance is a nobody, a mechanic living in the past. Is he? A new voice asks. The doors to the boardroom open. Senator Michelson, the keynote speaker from the gala, walks in. He is not smiling. Arthur Sterling was my friend for 30 years, the senator says, his voice carrying the weight of moral authority. He called me a month before he died. He told me he had made a grave mistake. He told me about a man of immense talent and integrity whom he had wronged. He asked me to keep an eye on things, to watch out for his daughter, and to make sure the truth eventually found the light. Gavin stands frozen, his face a mask of disbelief and fury. The truth is not the only thing that has found the light, Clara says. She nods to the doorway. Elias Vance steps into the room. He is wearing the same simple grey suit, the same worn leather shoes. He does not look at the board members. He does not look at Clara. He looks only at Gavin Thorne. He says nothing. He does not have to. His presence is the final, irrefutable piece of evidence. He is the ghost they thought they had buried, returned to reclaim his name. This is a farce, Gavin sputters, pointing a trembling finger at Elias. You cannot believe this grease monkey. One of the older board members, a man named Richards, slowly takes off his glasses and polishes them. I believe what Arthur wrote, Gavin, and I believe what the senator says, but most of all, I believe what I see. He looks at Elias. I remember you, son. You were the quiet one, the one with the good ideas. Clara turns to Elias. Is there anything you wish to say? Elias looks away from Gavin and lets his gaze sweep over the men at the table. He looks at the blueprints on the screen. He looks at Clara. The work should be true, he says. His voice is quiet, but it fills the silent room. It is all he says. It is enough. The vote is unanimous. Gavin Thorne is removed as COO and from the board, effective immediately. Security is called to escort him from the building. An investigation into corporate fraud is opened. As two security guards lead a pale, defeated Gavin from the room, Senator Michelson walks over to Elias. He extends his hand. It is an honor to finally meet the man my friend admired so much, the senator says, his voice warm. He takes Elias's hand in a firm, public handshake. The real guest of honor. Elias simply nods, accepting the vindication with the same quiet dignity with which he accepted the shame. The boardroom empties. The board members leave one by one, stopping to shake Elias's hand, to offer quiet apologies and words of respect. Soon, only Clara and Elias remain. The air is still charged, but the tension is gone. In its place is a vast, quiet space. They walk together out of the boardroom and down the long, empty hallway. The setting sun streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows on the polished floor. Their footsteps echo in the silence. "What happens now?" she asks. "I go home," he says simply. "I have a toaster to fix." She stops, turning to face him. "Just like that. I was going to offer you anything. Your old job. Head of R&D. A position on the board." He gives a small, sad smile. "This is not my world, Clara. It never was. My world is in that hangar, with my daughter." She sees the truth in his eyes. Pulling him into this world of glass towers and power plays would be a cage, no matter how gilded. It would diminish the very thing that makes him who he is. She does not argue. She does not try to convince him. She learned her lesson. Instead, she nods. "You're right," she says. They continue walking toward the elevators. The silence between them is comfortable now. A shared understanding. "My father's letter," she says, breaking the quiet. "He said his true legacy was for me to restore the man and restore the work." "You've restored the man," Elias says. "Now I have to restore the work," she replies. "The S50. Your design is brilliant, but it needs a proper facility, a team, resources." He stops at the elevator bank. "I can't do that from here." "I know," she says. She meets his gaze, her own clear and resolute. "That's why Sterling Aeronautics is breaking ground on a new advanced design and research facility next month." She sees a flicker of confusion in his eyes. "It's a smaller, more focused campus," she continues, "away from the city, a place where the work can be the only thing that matters. There's an old airfield up the coast. Quiet, good airspace for testing." His expression changes. The confusion melts away, replaced by a slow, dawning realization. "You're not asking me to come to your world," he says, his voice soft with wonder. "No," she says. "I'm bringing my world to yours." A week later, she visits the hangar. He is where she knew he would be, working on the small aircraft that is always covered by the tarp. Today, the tarp is off. It is a sleek, experimental plane of his own design, a thing of beauty and grace. He does not stop his work as she approaches. He is polishing a small section of the fuselage. She does not speak. She just stands beside him, holding a small, heavy object wrapped in velvet cloth. After a long moment, he sets down his polishing cloth and turns to her. She holds out the object. "A gift," she says. He unwraps it. It is a solid block of titanium, machined into a perfect cube and polished to a mirror finish. On one face, the Sterling Aeronautics logo is engraved. On the opposite face is a simple, elegant engraving of a nightingale in flight. He turns the cube over in his hands. It is heavy, solid, real. "It's the cornerstone for the new facility," she explains. "The real one. The one they'll lay at the ceremony." He looks from the cube to her face. He does not smile, but the sadness in his eyes has finally, fully retreated. In its place is a quiet light. He reaches into the cockpit of his plane and retrieves something. He holds it out to her. It is a small, intricate metal component, a piece of an engine. It is worn but clean, its edges smooth. She recognizes it from the diagrams in her father's vault. It is a key component from the original S-47 prototype engine, the Nightingale engine. "A souvenir," he says. She takes it. The metal is cool and smooth in her hand. It is not a gift of thanks. It is a shared piece of their history. A promise. 3 months pass. The autumn sun is low in the sky, painting the clouds in shades of orange and rose. The air is cool and crisp, carrying the scent of salt and drying leaves. The new Sterling R&D facility is a low, modern structure of glass and steel that complements, rather than dominates, the coastal landscape. It is quiet, efficient, and humming with a new kind of energy. The energy of purpose. On the runway, the S-50 prototype stands gleaming. Its wings have the new, elegant geometry of Elias's design. It is beautiful and true. Clara stands on the observation deck with Elias. Maya is perched on her father's shoulders, her small hands holding onto his head. Her laughter is a bright, clear sound as the S-50's engines spool up with a low, powerful hum. The jet taxis down the runway. It gathers speed, its form a perfect black silhouette against the setting sun. It lifts into the air, not with a roar, but with a graceful, soaring rush. It climbs, its wings cutting cleanly through the sky, and banks in a wide, perfect arc over the ocean. It is a triumph, a vindication. Clara looks at Elias. He is not watching the plane. He is watching his daughter's face, her eyes wide with wonder. A small, genuine smile touches his lips. Later, the three of them walk along the bluff overlooking the sea. The S-50 is a silver speck in the darkening sky. Maya runs ahead, chasing the last of the seagulls. Clara and Elias walk side by side, a comfortable distance between them. They do not speak. The silence is full of everything they have been through. The shame, the anger, the discovery, the victory. "She's happy," Clara says quietly, watching Maya twirl in the twilight. "Yes," Elias says, "she is." They stop at the edge of the bluff. The first stars are beginning to appear in the deep violet sky. The waves crash against the rocks below, a steady, eternal rhythm. He is no longer just the quiet craftsman or the wronged genius. She is no longer just the inheritor CEO or the misguided authority. They are simply two people standing together at the end of a long road, looking out at a new horizon. He does not take her hand. She does not lean against his shoulder. There is no grand romantic gesture. There is only a shared stillness, a quiet, earned peace. He turns his head slightly, his gaze meeting hers in the fading light. There is no sadness left in his eyes. There is no shadow of the past. There is only a quiet, steady warmth, a question, and a promise. She answers with a small, almost imperceptible nod. It is enough. It is a beginning.